Hey guys, welcome to another On Tech video. This one goes out to all the job searchers and the recruiters out there, and we're going to be showing one automation chain that's going to take you from identifying a point of contact or a prospect for that matter into entering them into a kind of an automated drip feed messaging campaign. Now, this is great for when you want an equal balance of customization in your messaging, but also automation in your follow-up. What you're going to need are three things for this video. You could find descriptions and links in the description below. You're going to need Replify, which is an email drip marketing tool. You're going to need Zapier, which we're going to use for automation. And in terms of email or contact identification, we're going to be using Get Prospect.io, which is a free tool that is great for identifying work emails only. And it gives you about 150 free per month, which is just my cost. So check it out. Okay guys, the first thing we're going to need is an email drip marketing program. In this case, I want to call your attention to Replify, one of the many players in the space, but has a really nice blend of automated versus manual steps to allow you to have a process that both automates but also allows you to do things that just aren't possible to automate as part of the process. It's free for 30 days, so you get a free 30-day trial. Links below, and also a training link below that you'll find very interesting. Kind of goes over some of the basics of writing cold emails and getting responses and best practices and all that sort of jazz. Look in the description. And as you see, once you're past the free trial, you know, for $20, you get up to 250 contacts. If you're looking to do this on a broad scale, you know, you could probably step up to the enterprise version. And it has a ton of different features, everything from email tracking and link tracking to working with a variety of different types of accounts, whether you have a Gmail or Outlook or Office 365, all very compatible. Tons of different automations and different kind of if-then statements, if you will, A/B testing, as well as reporting, which I find really handy. So at this point, we're going to slow the cadence of this video down because it is going to get a little bit confusing, but I'm going to do my best to break it down in a step-by-step. What I recommend is pause the video, check it out, do it, and then resume the video for the next step. Okay, so when you're in the platform, we've created a new campaign called Test Campaign, and now it's time to add steps into it. So we're going to click Add Steps, and first thing it's going to ask us, is there a delay after the previous step? This is the first one we're doing. The only consideration is, do we want this thing to fire off the second we add a new candidate into it, or do we want to wait? There's a variety of reasons for both. If we wanted to send a customized email and then trigger some sort of a follow-up, we probably don't want it following up on the heels of the second we send an email. However, for this example, we're just going to tell it to not wait at all, right? So we're going to tell it to wait an hour. Now here you're presented with a couple different options, and these are both automated as an email and webhook and notify me, and then kind of quasi-animated, such as phone or Twitter or LinkedIn. What do I mean by quasi-animated? That's really simple. It means that it will prompt you and even tell you what step needs to happen before continuing to the next step, but it's not going to physically perform those Twitter, LinkedIn, or phone call actions. And that's due to some limitations of that system or those systems, but still really handy. So let's go with some of the easier ones, and let's assume you're gonna go through sort of an email standpoint. So I'm gonna click on email, and here's where we have this choice to make. Do you want an automated or do you want a manual, which is to set a to-do? And there's a couple of reasons why we'd want to do either of them. One, automated will make it a lot easier, but manual will allow us to control or customize the content for each individual person and then automate every step thereof. So in this case, we're going to choose automated. And in the automated step, we can either create a template or choose an existing template. In this case, let's create a template. I'm going to call this delete me one, just so I remember to clear it out. And we're going to choose the subject, and let's say we're job searching, and the subject is my resume. Now you can use variables, and it'll give you the option to choose anything that you've put as part of your campaign, even customize fields. I got to shrink this just a little bit down. If you wanted to put the person's name, you know, so for example, instead of doing my resume, you might want this to automatically input, let's say, interested in company name, right? And you'll see this variable pops up in purple and it says company name, or default, it'll say your company, which means if you have that variable, it's not set, it's going to insert a your company. I never quite like that. I usually delete this out because, you know, I don't want to send any emails that don't have that information attached, but for the sake of this, let's do it. And in here, you could put in anything that you want. It might be, you know, hi first name. Again, I don't like the hi there thing, so I'd rather just say hi. So I'm just going to delete that out. Hi. You know, I came across your job posting, blah, 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 blah. You know, whatever the case is. You can even attach a link to your LinkedIn, whatever you want the messaging to be. It'll give you the ability to add in a resume. It doesn't attach it. It attaches a link that's then trackable, and that's because attached file is a huge spam indicator, and will get you probably caught up in that. So you could write your email here, and you could save this as a template for one. I'm just going to save that. And then you have your first one. Now we can add another step to this. And in this case, we might want to say anyone who doesn't respond to this email, let's wait a good 5 days. And, you know, we're going to send them another automated email. In this case, we're going to put bump on, which we're going to have to save the template. So in this case, I am going to choose a template I have. I'm going to use my simple follow-up, and I'm going to turn bump on. What bump on does, it essentially responds back, replies back to your original message. So it keeps everything in the audit chain, so they could see all the times you tried to reach them beforehand. And adds more continuity, and in my opinion, it makes it seem less automated. So it's going to continue that same email, and it's still going to say, you know, hi, first name. I know you're buried in email, so I wanted to gently nudge this one up to the top, right? So simple feedback if they don't respond, and you can create these sort of indefinitely. So we're going to save this, and we're going to add another step to it. Now, I'm not going to go into the different ways that you configure it. Let's say we're going to wait another 5 days, and this is where these sort of reminders come in. Let's say they don't respond back to your second email, and in this case, you want to remind yourself that you're going to do a whole bunch of social media stuff. So you're going to actually send them a connection request. And we're going to put that in there. And you can actually put what you want that email request to be. It's not going to send it to you, but it will provide you that template to then cut and paste it. So in this case, we could do invite message, whatever it is. And we want it to be, you know, hi, first name, interested in the role I serve. Let's say interested in the position posted at, and let's put in company. Title, then we're going to leave that open now because we don't have that information. And we're going to send that, and we're going to save that template. So basically what that's going to do is after it doesn't get a response from the second email, it's going to stop everything and prompt you to do this. And you could actually tell it, yes, you want to pause the sequence. And we're going to save that. So basically what you're saying is that you want to pause that sequence. Let's go back into that. You want to pause that sequence until you've clicked the box that says you've sent that. So it's not an automation. I mean, it certainly helps populate a message that you could cut and paste, based on a template, but it will pause it and it will allow you to sort of automate the process. Those first two emails don't work. I'm going to, send a connection request, and I'm going to tell it to pause, maybe then another email. And, that's sort of how those other things work. There's also some other ones. You could add a custom one if you want, a phone call or an SMS, which is the same thing. It's just a fancy reminder to send an SMS, right? To send a text. It's not going to send it for you, but it allows you not to think about the process and just sort of reminds you that someone is ready for the next step. So let's say you've created that, and we're going to save those changes. Actually, you know what? We don't need this. So let's delete this out. Cancel. Yes. Yes. And then we have our campaign. It's not live yet, but we have it, and we might want to review and set live. So you're going to review it, and it's going to send you an email. It's going to send a test email. And once you do, you can save campaign and go live. Let's see if we refresh that, will allow us to, send campaign and go live. You could also see the email would have come through. And what it's going to do is send you a bunch of emails so you could see exactly what that looks like from every single stage. And let's see what that looks like here. I'm just going to pull up an email so you could see it. Here was our first email. Whoops. That's not what I wanted to do. Here was our first email. Right, we didn't fill it out, but that's sort of what it looked like. It put in my name instead of the merge field. And this was our second email, where you could see it sort of sends them the second email, but I could see the first email already in here. So it looks good, and we've now set it to go live, and we've just completed the first part. Now the tricky part is, how are we going to get candidates into that and start that process going? Okay, now part 2, we're going to be using Get Prospect IO, which is, I find, fairly accurate for finding work or professional emails, and can be executed directly off of LinkedIn, which is great. A lot of tools are sort of losing that functionality as LinkedIn sort of closes the gates on them. What I like is, one, it gives you up to 150 free a month, which is great. It has a ton of features. It has an internal search. Even without LinkedIn, you could run searches and it'll look for email addresses. It has import, export, gives you company info. And because of their API, syncs with 1 million different apps through Zapier. And from a pricing standpoint, if you need to use it on a regular basis, it's, 1,000 emails for $50 a month is really good. I've survived off the free one, especially from a job searching standpoint. So it really is affordable. So let's go into Get Prospect. There's a couple different options. It verifies emails, does bulk import, it creates lists. We're going to go into test list. We actually ran a search just to see who would pull up from Apple. It's okay, I guess. I haven't tested to see if these are accurate or not, but it is sort of a different search mechanism. So what I like, and we're gonna use Mike Batman because I don't think he'd care, is when you load up a LinkedIn page of someone you want to get in contact with, maybe it's a hiring manager or candidate, whatever the case is, all you do is you click Get Email, and it reads the profile, it looks for the email, and then it tries to validate that email. In this case, it finds batman@waynetechnologies.com, and it allows you to copy it or add it to a list. In this case, I think I have it going to my test list, so it'll automatically live inside that program. Now that's great. That's the easy part. Now we have to sort of automate this and connect the two dots together. And that's sort of where Zapier comes into place. So you have Zapier, and I'm going to sort of recreate, let's see if I have a logged in version of it. I'm going to recreate a recipe I have just to show you how to do it. So we're going to do create a Zap, and here I already have it, but you could just search for it. You see it integrates with Get Prospect. So I'm going to use Get Prospect. The trigger event is verified email found for lead or new imported lead. Now, here is interesting. You could do a new imported lead. In that case, it will still import if it doesn't find an email, which will basically cause it to fail in the next step. But you could always edit it, or you could do it only when there is a verified email. For the sake of this, let's do verified email found lead. I'm going to continue, and it's going to ask you to try to sync up with your Get Prospect account. Since you have created one, that should appear, or let you log into it if you need to. And do continue, and it's going to try to test that trigger, right? So we could do test, and it's going to pull up, I guess, the last one we found from Apple, and it's going to put it in there. Okay, so now that we've put it that, we need to tell it what to do afterwards. And if you have a paid account, you could do multiple steps, which I find really handy. So I could put it into a Google Sheet, pipe it into something else. But in this case, we want to pipe it into a Replify. So let's see if we could find it. Let's see. Replify, there we go. So we're going to do Replify, and the action is we want to create or update a contact. It's the only option. So we're going to use that. Again, it's going to ask you to find your account. It's going to log in and request access. And then it's going to ask you to fill in all the details that it's going to grab. So in this case, we've chosen our account. We want to see where the email is coming from. So in this case, it's going to be listed as the corporate email. I see that because of the test run right here. So I'm going to do that. Campaign is going to ask us to choose the campaign we want. In this case, I think we called it test campaign. So we're going to put that in. Let's give that a second to load. Now, do we want it to activate immediately? True or false? In most cases, you're going to say yes. You want it to activate immediately. Other times, you might want to add some additional information. And this goes back to what merge fields you use, right? So to keep in mind what merge fields you're getting from Contact.io, let's just check out all these options. So it's getting an email, it's getting a company name, first name, last name, that person's position, a LinkedIn URL, their company website, your username, country code. Yeah, that's basically it. So you're going to want to make sure that when you set up your email templates, especially if this is your input method, you limit it to these sort of merge fields so you don't have to cause it to crash. So to go back for a second, we've done that. Let's get out of here. So activate immediately. We're going to say true. The person's first name or full name. So let's see if it breaks it down, if it has a full name or it does both first and last. So in our example here, I don't see it finding a full name. It looks like it's just first and last. Okay, so let's, instead of doing full name, let's skip that and let's tell it its first name. First name is there. We don't have a middle name, so let's go to the last name, show more options. Last name is here. Good. Company, well, we know we're getting what company he's from. So let's see if we could find the company name. We got that right there. Website, I don't know why we'd need this in a merge field, so I'm just going to skip it. Phone number, I don't think it gets it. LinkedIn URL, you know, if it gets it, let's see, we could put it in here. It does. Now, could we use that in a merge field? Not in an email, but perhaps you're setting a reminder to add them on LinkedIn. You might want to include their LinkedIn URL just so it's there for you, right? You don't have to go anywhere to find it. And here's fields I set up that it doesn't get, right? Because it's not getting, if you're using this for job searching, it's not getting a job title, because again, it's a contact that you've just pulled, not a job description. In that case, if you have a merge field that says, hey, I'm really interested in job title at job company, clearly it's not going to pull in job titles. That's either going to be blank or it's going to screw up the process altogether. So avoid using that as a merge field in your template, or put a pause. You make your first step a pause to prompt you to update that person's information within Replify. There are other ways to get information into Replify, where you could fill out a simple form that I'll show in an additional video. That could kind of be automated the same way. So for example, that's not what I wanted to do. That was silly. I think I did this where I created a bit of a form that would allow me to fill out some information that would get piped into there. But in this stage, we're not going to use it. That's fine. We're just going to do continue. Now it's going to want to test and continue. We're going to test and continue. And it shows it's done that, so we could turn it live and say we're ready to go. Now let's go done editing, and let's go into our Replify. Let's go on campaigns, and let's click on the test campaign. And let's hope I didn't set this to go out. That would be bad. And let's see what's in it. And we have that one contact who's queued up, ready to go, which is fine. You could see the activity, which is none. We go back into it because it's not run yet, which is good. We set a delay on it, and that's why I'm going to pause it so this person doesn't get a half-baked email. And you see by that process alone, you've now sort of automated your process. What I mean by that is you're going through and you're finding people you want. And I'm going to pick on some random people here. So let's say Dean's next on our list. And we're like, oh, he looks great as well. I want to put him into this email process. We could do the same thing. It's going to look at his profile, try to analyze it. And when it finds his email, it's going to add him directly into that process that we just created. Now, in this case, it grabbed an unverified email, so that should not be entered into our campaign, which is the option we chose. So let's see if we can't verify whether that's the case. Before I forget, let's demo. Let's name that demo. And let's see if we can't see the task history, which it might not have updated yet. So we're probably not going to see any of the tasks associated with it. Well, that and okay, yeah, this wasn't entered in because this is not verified. So there's actually 0 tasks. So let's see who else. Let's give it a try on Shannon, fearless previous leader of SourceCon. And let's see if it comes up with it. Now, I'm not going to pause the video because sometimes I want to give you a sense of time it takes. Sometimes it finds it right away. And this time it found it and it said it was verifiable. So then it should shoot directly into Zapier and then into... let's see if it appears in our task log. And it does. It appears here. Shows it captured the right information, that it was a success. Shows the data in and shows the data out. Now, if that worked, we should be able to go back into our campaign details, refresh this, and see if it now has 2 people in the campaign. And it does. It has Shannon in our campaign. And again, we're going to pause it over here as well. So that should be fine and ready to go. And we actually don't need these 2, but that gives you a sense step by step on sort of how to automate the process. Now, how you set it up is really to your imagination. However you want to configure it, whatever steps you want it to take and how you want it to pause will make it a lot easier or a lot more customizable, which is obviously takes more time to work through the different steps. But in its simplest form, it's really, really easy and it sort of gets the job done. One of the ways that I really sort of liked using it, which is a little bit less customizable, but I'm going to mention it now. Instead of setting up that link through Get Prospect, what I found really helpful is I create, a couple of different email follow-up steps using very minimal merge fields, meaning maybe I just use their name and that's about it. And once I find their contact details, I'll literally shoot them a customizable email. Like maybe I have a some sort of stock email that I keep on changing. But what I do is I BCC the unique link in the campaign, which you find at the bottom over here, and it automatically enters them into the drip feed. So in this case, in my campaign, I'd probably set the first email to not follow up for another 3 days, because I assume as soon as I send them an email and BCC it, the clock starts ticking and I don't want them to get that email right away, which makes it really easy because I can customize each email. And, the 3 or 4 steps will be very simple stuff like bumping this up to the top, checking in, maybe some information that I want to give them as sort of a value add to grease the wheels as it continues forward. But either way, it creates a really easy way to automate some of that sort of follow-up. And you can even put at the end of your campaign a bit of an alert to let you know that it didn't work out or that you never heard back from the person. So you know to take some steps with them or maybe pause for a little bit. Either way, I find it very, very useful. One of the things that's a little bit trickier, one of the limitations to using the, Get Prospect method to get your contacts into the drip feed is that you can only set it up into one campaign, as far as I know. I haven't figured out a way to have like 3 or 4 different campaigns that have different messaging attached to it. One, maybe they have a current job you're interested in, another one if they don't. But I did find a bit of a workaround by using a Google form, which I'm not going to go into in detail right here, but I created these little job triggers, right? So this is basically a little Google form that I made where I could put in manually the information I want, so first name, title, work email, and anything else I think is pertinent. In this case, I set this up basically because I just want to make sure I get the job title and the company into it. And you could have each one of these trigger into a different campaign. So one could be they have a job, one could be, hey, they don't have a job that's right for you, but you just want to get your details. One could be they have a job that's too senior and you want to, humbly admit that the job's probably above your level, but you still want to get your details across to them. So different ways of piping the information in, but ultimately leading to some sort of automation chain. So I'm going to stop there. I suggest you go through the video, give it a try out. You could reach out to me. My contact details will be in the description. If you have any questions, I'm happy to walk you through it. Again, this is one automation chain. There's likely a million other ways to go from LinkedIn or go from wherever you're finding your contacts into some sort of drip feed. And as I figure them out or as I come across different ways to do it, I'll post some additional videos. So hope you found that helpful.